Make me a channel of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring your love. Where there is injury, your pardon, Lord. And where there's doubt, true faith in you.
I want all the global leaders to do something to stop climate change.
Que ustedes son poetas sociales porque tienen la capacidad y el coraje de crear esperanza.
O mundo vai mudar.
È unisola. Abbiamo tutti bisogno gli uni degli altri.
In a powerful film entitled The Letter, Pope Francis meets with pilgrims from across the world who tell their story of acting on both faith and hope to address the threat posed by the climate crisis to God's creation and all of us. In his response, he especially lifts up the cry of the poor. It is clear that the hallmark of St. Francis and the core of his message to the world was that we need to open our hearts in order to behold with reverence the sacred gift of God's creation. It is wonderful that Franciscan University is trying to manifest the spirit of St. Francis, but it is also clear that reverence for God's creation was a central component of his life. What does that look like in the age of impending climate breakdown? How can one emulate his teachings unless that same reverence is also manifested in a compassionate response to the profound challenges of the climate crisis?
Franciscan priest Casey Cole is the creator of the Breaking in the Habit video series on YouTube and chaplain of Mercer University. He speaks to the meaning of the Pope Francis encyclical Laudato Si.
Laudato Si is a landmark work of church teaching that brings together science, theology, and social action to deal with much more than just the environment. It seeks to create an integral ecology in which all that is sacred is considered and cherished. What does the document say, and why is it important for every person on earth? Personifying the earth as sister, just as St. Francis did. Pope Francis writes in his introduction, "This sister now cries out to us because of the harm we have inflicted on her by our irresponsible use and abuse of the goods with which God has endowed her. We have come to see ourselves as her lords and master, entitled to plunder her at will. As a result, we as a human species have committed many sins against nature, against God, and against one another, greedily consuming more than we need, wasting precious resources meant for the good of all. Cities have grown unruly in many areas. They are inefficiently run, filled with pollution, and leave its citizens crowded in a world of cement and asphalt. In areas where precious metals or oil is found, locals are often exploited by multinational corporations, even expelled from their own lands. The poor are forced to live where pollution is high and environmental disasters are frequent. This is a far cry from what Pope Francis calls the gospel of creation. In chapter 2 of his letter, he looks to the biblical accounts of creation, the Judeo-Christian approach to the mystery of the universe, the life of Jesus, and the social tradition of the Catholic Church to teach an invaluable truth. We are meant to be among and for creation as its caretaker, not above it as its Lord. You can see why he invokes St. Francis's Canticle of the Creatures. We are meant to see all of creation as our brothers and sisters, as beings in relationship with God. Unfortunately, this is not even remotely close to true in our world.
Former Bishop of San Diego, Robert McElroy, now the Archbishop of Washington DC, speaks on why the issues of climate change and abortion are inseparable from each other, and why it is critically important that the gap dividing them be bridged.
Which is more important to you right now? What is more important to the church right now? Fighting climate change or fighting the abortion fight?
I'd say they're both part of a single fight, which is the fight in defense of life. You can't separate those two out. Our political structures do separate them out, but that's because our political structures are misshapen now. They're distorted. They say you can't be for a holistic view of safeguarding life. The church says that both of those issues are preeminent issues that we face as a society and as a world now. The issue of unborn children and the issue of the climate and the future of the whole of the world and extinction.
But in practicality, does society understand that they can be combined as a driving issue?
Yes, they do. In that the Bishops' Conference about 8 years ago undertook a study. Is there a way of bridging within the Catholic community this, the fact that some Catholics accentuate the issue of abortion, some accentuate the issue of climate change. And they found that, in fact, yes, there is a commonality. It's an affective commonality, an affective bridge. And it kind of was, the link was compassion.
But unfortunately, our elected officials control much of the country's action on climate change.
That's why we have to have our elected officials change. We have to change that structure so that people don't have to choose when they're voting between safeguarding the future of the planet and safeguarding the life of unborn children.
It is abundantly clear that Pope Francis has seen the inseparable connection, has bridged that gap, and in the name of protecting the future of life as we know it, is fervently making an appeal to not only the Catholic Church, but to the entire world.
Franciscan University is to be commended for its moral leadership on the abortion issue, but given the call to act issued by Pope Francis, combined with the unity of the world science community that the life support systems of Earth are weakening and even approaching a tipping point when this spiral begins spinning out of human control, it seems a time when there needs to be at least a discussion in the Franciscan University community about the need for a more holistic view of these two issues.
Most Americans are under an illusion that climate change will be gradual, and society will make adjustments. There could not be a more dangerous delusion. The world science community is strenuously warning the precise opposite. In a consensus statement by 195 countries, any further delay in global action will miss a brief and rapidly closing window of opportunity to secure a livable and sustainable future for all. A tipping point of no return is approaching that equates far more to falling over a cliff. Drought will wipe out water supply and lead to massive food shortages. Human control over the breakdown will be lost. Biblical scale catastrophe would be an understatement. Archbishop McElroy has also written to present a very compelling case why Catholic colleges are in an excellent position to lead in educating about this towering challenge to humanity. Here's an excerpt. Following in the footsteps of John Paul and Pope Benedict, Pope Francis calls for the protection of the earth. Laudato Si presents the principle of integral ecology, which weaves together essential elements of Catholic social teaching in a new way. Pope Francis unites the moral imperative to save our planet with a moral imperative to protect the poor at all times. It points to the searing ethical issues regarding technology that our society ignores at its peril. The spirituality of Laudato Si provides a particularly potent pathway for bringing students into encounter with God. Catholic universities should be a beacon of prophetic witness to the fundamental threat which frames Laudato Si.
For Francis, pollution and overconsumption are not the problems in themselves. They are symptoms of a far more serious disconnect in the values of society. Thus, for Francis, the answer is not simply to plant more trees or to recycle, although he certainly wouldn't object to these things. The world does not need further cosmetic changes that at best treat symptoms. It needs a fundamental shift in the way it approaches the world around it. In other words, it needs an integral ecology. In Chapter 4, Francis gets to the heart of the document in which he challenges all people of the earth to embrace the interconnectedness of all in creation.
There is another Franciscan college, Siena College in New York State, that has risen to a leading role in this regard. It has established a program to teach these very principles called the Laudato Si Center for Integral Ecology. Its administration has thrown full support behind a comprehensive resolution, committing the college to both teach and model how to live in an environmentally sustainable way.
The purpose of this video has been to propose that Franciscan University follow the inspiring example of Siena College, pass a similar resolution, and create a similar center. A specific idea to help facilitate that kind of discussion is to set up a campus-wide showing of the film on Pope Francis and his global appeal, The Letter, to which administrators, faculty, and students would be invited.
As much as Laudato Si is described as the encyclical about the environment, it's clear that this hardly does it justice. Francis is not concerned with tree hugging or a New Age approach to nature disconnected from human existence. He's concerned with building a world in which every facet of our lives gives glory to God. We are all in this together. To hurt one of God's creatures is to hurt us all. As Christians, we care for the environment because we care for all that God has created, and we care for each other.